allow us to touch somebody and bring back a happy memory to somebody. Amen. All right. Hey, everybody. It is Kendall Anise, and it is Thursday. What does Thursday mean when you see Leroy and I? More than just a movie where we break down classic Black films. I'm Kendall Anise. That's Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. And today, people, we have a classic Black film for your you know what. Today is all about Coaches and Preach Cooley High. All right, y'all. We are talking about Cooley High for more than just a movie, MT Jams. Do yourself a favor and subscribe below. If you're watching anywhere other than YouTube, please go to the YouTube page and subscribe to my channel because there's so much information, so much education, so much entertainment, all of that wrapped in one. I have so many different shows on here that I want you to be a part of. It's all about education, elevation, and entertainment, right? And today we are entertaining you and we're going to be educating y'all about the movie Cooley High. Now, Cooley High came out in 1975. Me and Leroy were alive, but I don't know if y'all were alive. And if you haven't seen Cooley High, then you need to see it. I was talking to my daughter today. The first time I saw Cooley High, like Sparkle, I was 20 at that time, and I was in Las Vegas, Nevada, living there. And my ex-husband and I, he was in the military, so we had to have all our stuff shipped to Las Vegas from the East Coast. So we had our bed. We got a bed while we were there and all some stuff. So that's all we had. So in there at that time. So we had the bed, and he had one of these little teeny, and this was in 1990. One. So we had a little TV. Remember those little black and white TVs that you can travel with? We had that. And for the first time, I watched Cooley High on that little teeny black and white TV. That was the first time I saw it. I was 20 years old. And I've seen it a million times since. So like we talked about Sparkle last week, it wasn't like on demand where you could watch it all the time. If it wasn't on, you weren't seeing it. And they might have had the VHS, but if you did not catch it, then you weren't seeing it. It wasn't like you could just type in something and say, I want to watch Cooley High. Like right now, it is on, the entire movie for free is on YouTube. It wasn't like that. So let's talk. So let's first, do I want to do the budget first, or let me do the synopsis? All right. So Richard Cochise Morris, Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, a local basketball hero, and Leroy Preach Jackson, Glenn Turman, who dreams of a career in writing, are likable Chicago high school students in the 1960s in the Chi-Town, right? They're into hanging out with their friends, pretty girls, and the Motown sounds. And they're popular in that area, of course, in Chi-Town. Each wants to make a big impression in his own way, but not anybody. Let me pull this closer. But not everybody they meet is looking out for them, as they learn when seemingly harmless outings goes around. I don't know who wrote this, because y'all know sometimes with Wikipedia the people can write it, but let me just tell y'all what it's about in my own words. And I wrote it down, something simple. Cooley High was a movie about friends, about girls, fun, school, puberty, and everything in between. That's my take. All right, so this movie in 1975 had a budget of $750,000, and it made $13 million in 1975 in the box office. This was a Black movie. Now, I have to, before Leroy comes on, I have to say this, and we're going to talk about, let me just welcome my co-host, my amazing co-host, Dr. Leroy McKenzie Jr. This is your first time watching. But I want to talk about Eric Monty. So you can chime in at any time you want, Leroy. I want to talk about Eric Monty. Now, Eric Monty was the writer of Cooley High. And Eric Monty, this was his life. He was like Preach. He wanted to be a writer in Hollywood like Preach. He wasn't into sports and all of that. He didn't really want to go to school like that, but he was into writing. So this was one of his writing efforts as he was in school to do this. So it got picked up. One thing led to another, and this movie was made. So what they did is finagled him out of his rights in this movie. They finagled him out of a history, of a legacy that he could be proud of. Of course, he's proud of this. So later on, it went to TV, like, hey, let's make this a TV show. And that's where What's Happening came from. So it was loosely based off of Cooley High. So when they ended up doing that, after they gave Eric Monty peanuts to do Cooley High, and he was like a huge writer, he started writing other episodes of a lot of different things, even Good Times. He was a big part of Good Times and writing in that. And then Norman Lear, he reports him as pretty much scamming him, taking him out of his money and taking ownership of some of his stuff. Eric Monty has surfaced again in 2022, still talking about this because some other rights were taken from him from Good Times and What's Happening, and they changed some things. And it happens a lot of times where we already know, we've seen the Unsungs, we've seen all the little shows where they take from the artist. All right, Leroy, we talking about Cooley High. What you got to say about Cooley?
Nah, I mean, this is the definition of our title, Black Classic Movies. It really is. One you mentioned Mr. Monty, but I saw another name too, and I can't remember his name. His first name is Norman. Is it Schultz? The last name is Schultz, but he's a pretty big name. And I thought he had done some of the shows that were back in the 70s as well. Or what am I thinking about the one that you were just, Mr. Monty that you're talking about, as opposed to Schultz? But I thought Schultz had something. Yeah, I thought Schultz had something.
Exactly. That's my point. That's my point. Exactly. Mm-hmm. His Eric Monty's name is pushed out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to bring that. So of course you see all of these other names and all these other influences. Was his. He's a black man still living. He's 78 years old. Eric Monty is an American screenwriter and TV series creator. He's known for his work depicting 1970s African-American culture. Monty wrote and co-created sitcoms and television shows such as Good Times. That's his show. The Jeffersons, What's Happening, as well as a spinoff of What's Happening Now. And I don't like that people don't talk about him often. And he just resurfaced still with some royalties and certain things this man was down and out when it comes to finances. And all of these legacies that he left behind, he still don't have no money. People still are not saying his name. So I wanted to do his honor, and I was not going to do the show without giving him his start. And he wrote Cooley High based off of his life, so I just wanted to make sure I acknowledge that.
And that's the to
You're breaking up. Leroy. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Leroy.
I have to move. I'm gonna have to move another. And
I can't hear you.
I can't tell.
Yeah, it sounds like you're under.
All right, hold on.
Oh, that sounds good right there. Whatever you just said, I can hear you now. Okay. While Leroy is doing that, because I can't hear Leroy. So while Leroy is doing that, I just wanted to talk more about Eric Monty and the lawsuits that he has, because he is the creator of all of these shows that we know, co-creator. He wrote Cooley High. It was based off of his life. Co-created Good Times and the Jeffersons, and also What's Happening. That was a loosely based show on Cooley High, right? And think about it, how they're going down and the fellas and they're hanging and this and that. So that was based off of Cooley High. So now, according to the LA Times in 1977, he filed a lawsuit accusing CBS and Tandem Productions, Norman Lear and Jerry Pershino, and others of stealing his ideas for Good Times and the spinoff All in the Family and the Jeffersons, right? Let me see if Leroy is back. Okay, he's still trying to do that. All right, so, and then eventually he says he received $1 million in settlement and a small percentage of the residuals from Good Times, but his opportunities to pitch new scripts dried up after the lawsuit. And we talked about this with Irene Cara last week for Sparkle. Sometimes when you do that lawsuit and you're trying to just get what's yours, you ruffle the feathers of Hollywood. And now everybody's like, don't rock with them. Don't do this. Don't do that, because they sue people. But if you pay people their money up front, right, or you pay them the way you're supposed to pay them for their work, then you wouldn't have to sue anybody. So let's see. So since Good Times ended, the only scripts he'd written and produced by Hollywoods are single episodes of The Wayans Brothers and Moesha, the latter of which Monty has called the absolute worst script writing he's ever written. He took part of the settlement money to finance the production company in a play that he had written entitled If They Come Back. The play was a commercial failure and significantly contributed to Monty's financial ruin. And he's been struggling ever since. All right, we good?
Yeah.
All right.
That's better.
Oh, that's much better. All right. Yeah, so I just gave, while you were working on the technical difficulties, I just talked more about Eric Monty and how he sued. And like we talked about last week in Sparkle with Irene Cara, once you sue and get your money, now it's like, oh, don't rock with them, don't touch them. But if you pay them up front and pay them their money, then they wouldn't have to sue you. Why you got to sue people for your own money?
Yeah, I mean that's part. I think that's part of it. But I also think the other part is we have to be educated on going in, making sure that we read the contracts, making sure that we have a clear understanding of, our intellectual property being protected, what we come away with, if there's any royalties that need to get paid, how they're going to get paid. We can't say that enough. I mean, that that has been going on, of course, since back in the 60s and 70s, or shoot, even before then. Because I don't know if you watched the show, the Titans that built America, the food that built America, the booze and that built America on the History Channel. But
I think you're one of that.
Yeah, but one of the co-creators of Jack Daniels was a black man that the guy Jack Daniels worked with to create the drink.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Right, he passed away, and the son, the Jack Daniels guy, never gave the son the money that the father was supposed to get from creating this. So it happens all the time. The McDonald's brothers, the story of the founder.
Yeah, that was a mess.
If you watch that, it's that very thing that you're talking about there.
Yeah.
You have these underhanded individuals, and they're in every industry, that will take advantage of folks that don't know. And Mr. Monty, he's thinking back in 74, yeah, when they were getting ready to do that movie, he's just thinking about getting a movie done. So he
Yeah.
probably didn't know the ins and outs. Probably
Yeah.
didn't have an attorney, or if
Yeah.
he had one, didn't he had he had someone that wasn't very astute
Yeah.
in
Boo
dealing
boo
with
and them.
Hollywood.
Yeah. Boo boo and them.
Yeah, yeah, that looked at the contract and was like, okay, yeah, it's good, you good, go ahead and sign it,
Yeah.
and the guys who had already, who had been around a time or two, they knew
Yeah.
how they could, take advantage of him. They could prey on him
Yeah.
because they didn't
Yeah.
know it's probably his first project. It's his life story. He's
Yeah.
not thinking, all of that stuff. So, for those that are watching, entrepreneurs, you're an aspiring, entrepreneur. Protect your assets.
Yeah.
Protect your assets. The one of the most important people that you can have, two important people that you can have on your team is an accountant and an attorney.
Yeah.
You know, somebody to look over your documents and somebody that can show you where the money is going in and coming out.
Yeah.
Protect
But
it. You protect the, you
no,
protect, and even the attorney can protect your intellectual property as well. But you got to take the time to do it. To invest in it.
yeah.
You
Well
know,
said. And the problem is though, the problem is with artists, artists care about doing their art. They're
right,
not, a lot of artists will tell you, I just want my art seen. I want to, make money or not. Like I don't care about I just want my art seen. And I've heard a lot of artists say that. So like you said, he probably was like, they're about to do my movie. They bought the movie. Michael Schultz, as you were talking about, he was the director, but
right.
Eric Monty was the
The
writer.
creator, right,
Yeah,
right.
the creator, because it was based off of his life. He was the real life
Coach,
priest
no, preach. Yeah,
in this coming of age story. Um,
yeah.
so let's talk about the movie. So as you can tell, some of the actors were just like the Chi-Town people. Like if they owned that restaurant, it was the owners. And I remember watching like the unsung, they had an unsung a Hollywood Cooley High, and they were talking about how, Cabrini Green, like the gangs, all of that were still like almost like Boys in the Hood. When we talked about they filmed in the
Hmm.
hood, and what you get in the hood is what you get in the hood, whether you watching a film or making a film or not. Those are the same type of
Hmm.
things that happen with Cooley High. And it was like gang members, it was like real people in restaurants, it was like all of that. They were in the movie, and you can tell with some of the acting. Now, some of the acting, Cooley High is good, but you gotta admit some of that acting ain't good.
But you gotta remember that's 1974, 75.
It wasn't actors, it was
So
people, regular people.
the the act, yeah, the acting, the technology. It for us it wasn't. I mean, back then just the acting in general wasn't the greatest, and it had a budget of 750K. You can't
That's
even.
insane. That's
I was thinking about
insane.
this when I saw it. I was thinking about this when I was looking up the numbers and stuff. I said you couldn't even play the light engineer 750,000 these days with
But
that.
you know what? That's why they was taking. If we shooting in a restaurant, you own the restaurant, you gonna be acting. You an actor now. You do this.
Right.
That's probably why they had to do it. They
Yeah.
organically made this
Yeah.
film, and
Yeah.
they paid certain actors, but other people wanted to do it for free. This
Yeah.
was in
Just
their city
just to
using
get.
less management.
But I tell you what, and a lot of those things might not be around today. But when you look at those numbers, Kendall, they did had a budget of 750,000 and they made 13 million.
That's
That's
insane.
a that's a good return
Yep.
on that.
Yep.
And you got to think that was just then.
Yep.
So now they still getting paid off of of
Yep.
of Cooley High.
Yep. If they did it right, if they did it right, whoever owns it, owns
Right.
it. if they did
the
it right.
rights
And
to
a
it.
lot of people weren't even actors. Even the girl Cynthia Davis, the lady, she just died recently. The one that
Did
played
she? I was
Preach.
wondering what happened to her.
Yeah, and she wasn't really an actor. Like a lot of these people were not actors.
Hmm.
So that's why if you go to their IDBMs, if you go to, all the little acting credits, there was that one and done. Like they got them and they did them
Yeah.
and they were good. Like I think she was, from when I remember that unsung Cooley High, like she was she was like a model or she was something else. Like she wasn't, and they
Okay.
like, come on in. Um, but all right, so let's go through. So I just want to start because of course I have my trivia and everything, but I just want to start with the line that I still use today, even though I don't drink. It could be anything. Like this is pouring this out for the brothers who ain't here. Like everybody, that's like lingo in our community. Like everybody says that. This is for the brothers who ain't here, whatever it is, whether it's food, whatever. And I love the line where he says, now make sure I wrote it down to make sure I was right. But of course, we know for the brothers who ain't here. But he said, if they ain't here, they don't get none. And he said, paying respect to those who are dead or in jail. And I'm thinking about them little kids drinking wine. You know what I mean? Like they in high school and they sitting around. People back then looked so much older than they were. And they were doing
But
older
but you got to
things.
think. But you got to think too. The drinking age wasn't 21 back then. I think the drinking age might have been 18.
Probably so. I didn't even think about that. Probably so.
Yeah.
Probably
So it
so.
might have been the drinking age might have been 18 is what I'm
Probably
thinking.
so.
76, 75, 76. I'm thinking the drinking age was 18 at that time because I don't think the
Probably
drinking
so.
age got moved up until
I
maybe the
remember
80s.
the
Maybe the
80s. I think
80s.
you're right. Yep,
Yeah.
the 80s. You're right. Because I remember
Yeah.
when people was like,
Yeah.
Dad, you gotta be 21. And even with six, do you have to be 18? I guess 18 for that. Um, but so it opens up with the brothers, and I say brothers meaning friends, like goofing off, running around, going to get something to eat, with the dice they playing, they doing what you do in the hood. Like they just doing it. They just living their lives. And Coach Cheese is a basketball star, and he knows that he's going to get out of there by playing basketball. He's going to get out to, and then you got Preach. He has the role of the nerdy professor kind of, but even when Dorothy was like, you don't get no good grades, he wasn't caring about school. He just wanted to write a screenplay for Hollywood, hence Eric Monty. And even though Cochise was the basketball player, he wasn't the typical dumb jock. Like he had a plan for his life. And then even when he was trying to get the letter out the toilet, and little Tommy done put the scholarship letter in the toilet. The little baby, so he was excited. So that's where it came, where they were like, we're gonna give this to the brothers who ain't here. And they were celebrating the scholarship because they knew one of theirs was going to go off into the NBA and make something for themselves. And I think we talked about this with Boys in the Hood is, you root for those that are going to get out of the hood and they're going to make something for themselves.
This was Boys in the Hood before Boys in the
Yeah,
Hood.
I know. I know.
Cochise was Ricky.
I know. When
Yeah.
I watch it, when I think about it, that's exactly what I say. I'm like, John Singleton definitely was inspired by Cooley High, no doubt.
But that's what they say, that Cooley High was that coming of age movie
Yeah,
for the coming of age movies.
yeah,
It opened
yeah,
the door for
yeah,
all of the other, because I was thinking about that too. All of the other coming of age movies that
yeah,
we've seen. This
yeah,
set that tone because it was. I mean, it was everyday, ordinary living
yeah,
that any
yeah,
of us, and I think that's why it resonates with all of us.
yeah,
You say the movie Cooley High
yeah.
because you could see it, that was any of us. You could see any of us from the from the sister. I'm gonna tell Mama you're
I'm
not
gonna
supposed to
tell
have
her
this.
like you was trying to tell on me.
You know, all of and I watched it today and I'm just smiling because I'm just like, wow, man, this is just, it really was. It was a simple, to me, it was a simple movie.
Yeah,
It
it was.
wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't really anything deep. It wasn't. I
Yeah.
mean, how many? And I wanted to ask you this too because you talked about preach not wanting to go to school, and
He said
he
he
would
don't want no
skip
factory
class.
worker. Mm-hmm.
He skipped class all the time. Skipped class all the time. He was one of those students. He was a smart kid, but he didn't. And even when we think about today, when we think about students, but you think about you have those students that have the talent, that have the intelligence, but school is something that doesn't really keep their attention. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, Preach just wanted to write scripts. He wasn't worried about school. He wasn't worried about,
Mm-hmm.
the mathematics of it and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
There are those students. I mean, shoot, I had a couple of my friends in school, and I mean, you just was like, they had all of they got it. They were smart, but
Yeah.
they were like they didn't focus on doing what they needed to do in school and everything like
Yeah.
that. And that was
Yeah.
that was the sad part, because even and I love Garrett Morris in this. And I mean, they were all so young. They had to be what, like in their
Yeah.
Garrett Morris probably had to be in his 30s. I think he was probably in his
Yeah.
30s. He was probably in his 30s, maybe even 40s, because he always been old. But Cooley
Yeah.
High, all of them were very young. I think what's his
Yeah.
name? Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. I think he was what?
Mhm.
Was he still a teenager at the time? Or was he
Yeah,
in his
because that
early
was
mid
before
20s?
Boom Boom Washington. That was before Boom Boom
Yeah.
Washington and all that. And
Hmm.
Welcome Back,
So
Kotter.
right, right before, yeah, because I think Welcome Back Carter came out a little after that, because
It
no,
came,
Welcome
yeah,
Back Carter was in the 70s.
yeah, because that was
Because I
the 70s, but it was after that because
yeah,
that was my show.
yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to
So I
see
mean,
one.
but it was, you could relate to any of, I think, those characters in there, even the dudes that were that he was playing dice with, that Preach was playing dice with,
Mhm.
or the dudes that kept getting locked up. Is always There was always somebody
And
in
those
the
were real. They
neighborhood
were
that
real.
was always.
They were real guys. They were in the what they was into. That they were real.
Uh-oh,
You hear me?
I don't know if you froze or yeah, you were breaking up.
I
Say
was
it again.
saying they were real. Though those guys that
Right.
was their nemesis, they was really
Uh-huh.
doing what they was doing in the streets
What they do. Right. You
in
know.
real life.
So I mean, yeah, but I mean, and that's the thing. There was always those kind of cats in the neighborhood. You knew who they
Hmm.
were. Everybody,
Hmm.
everybody knew who they were.
Yeah.
And everything like that. And if something, something broke out, because I remember
Hmm.
we had this one dude, and he
Hmm.
was, remember that, and I don't know if y'all had this. I'm sure y'all did up in Jersey, where you had the folks that did the graffiti. They would put their
Yeah.
names all over.
Yeah.
Well,
And tag.
we had, yeah, we had them in our neighborhood as well too. Because down at the school where we would play basketball, all you
Hmm.
saw was the name Tuffy. You know,
So I wonder if
Tuffy.
anybody knew who that was.
Yeah, and see, I don't know. I don't even remember his real name. We just knew him. We just knew him as Tuffy, and he was that dude that something went down. You kind of
Hmm.
It was kind of part of, he had something to
Yeah.
do with it, you know those type of things. And they hung out same places we did,
Yeah.
you know and when they came around, you was just like, you always had to keep your head on a swivel,
Yeah.
because something
On
could
the swivel. Keep it on the swivel.
something
Keep
could
it on
pop
the
off,
swivel.
you know and you didn't want to waste any time, but that was a part of growing, in that era. I mean, I know we weren't, I was 6 when this came out, 75. So, but I remember, and I was like, it took you 20 years to see this? Because I think I first saw Cooley High. I know I had to have been a teenager
Because
when I saw it.
I didn't see it in high school. I seen it right after. I
Uh-huh.
didn't see it in high school. I don't know
Yeah.
why, if it never came on or if it wasn't on my radar, if my
Hmm.
mom wasn't watching it. I don't know. but I heard about it.
Mm.
I just hadn't seen it. Like I knew it, and I
Mm.
just hadn't seen it. I don't believe.
No.
I believe that was my first time. But
Mhm.
you asked. So Lawrence Hilton Jacob is 68 now. Glenn
Right.
Turman is 75 now. So Lawrence Hilton Jacobs
Yep.
was 22 when it came out.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
then we
Mhm.
have Glenn Turman, who was in his 30s when it came out.
Came out
So
playing a high
he,
school kid.
yeah, so he was, let's see, playing a high school kid. Because think about it. Because, okay, so he was born in 1947. So
Okay.
let's say
Mhm.
1947
Should be
and then
75. So you.
1973, he was 26
Mhm.
playing high
Mhm.
school. And
Right.
Lawrence Hilton Jacobs was 22
You said
playing in
22.
high
Mhm.
school. So definitely Garrett Morris. Look, wait a minute. What if what's the name? What if Glenn Turman is older than Garrett Morris? Hold up.
I know, right? I don't
Wait,
think
let me
so,
see.
but
No, look, so Garrett Garrett Morris is 85, so he was
yeah.
36 when the movie was
You
out. So
see,
that's about
I
right.
thought so.
That's about
I
right.
thought he was. Yep. I thought he was in his 30s. Back then.
So
But
think
yeah.
about
But
them
it was
still
just
acting to this day. Think about that.
yeah. Good. You got to think all three of them: Garrett Morris, Glenn Thurman, and Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. Yeah,
Playing
they
Joe
still
Jackson,
going.
they still
Yeah,
going.
I know, right?
He played, I don't want you, I don't want you, I don't want you. That's what Angela Bassett was saying to him. I don't want you. You a liar, you a cheater, and I don't want you. Remember that American Dream, that Michael Jackson? And Lawrence Hill was trying to cheat. He was trying to cheat as Joe Jackson. He was trying to do that hang up, ring the phone and hang up. And Catherine, he thought Catherine it was going over her head. She was like, they keep hanging up and doing that all the time, right? And so he answered at the little house. Y'all know Michael Jackson, American Dream. So he thought that he was like, can you sing? I want some ice cream. And she was like, Catherine Jackson, Angela Bassett was like, we got ice cream in there. He was like, no, I want, such and such ice cream. And she was like, okay, because he was trying to get her out the house so he can talk to his side piece. And when she saw that Lawrence Hilton Jacobs' little face, I said, oh, he's still acting. All this time, he's still acting. All right, so let's talk about
Yeah,
before
I
we.
mean,
No, go ahead. What was you saying, Leroy?
yeah,
Leroy? Okay. Yep, you froze a little bit.
yeah.
So let's talk about the house party. Let's go straight to the house party. When Dorothy was trying to
But
let
that's
people for a quarter. A quarter. Imagine you can't go to the party, Leroy, because you ain't got a quarter.
yeah. Like I said, 1975. 1975. I mean,
A quarter.
a loaf of bread probably cost you what, 35 cents. Gas might have been a dollar because they had that gas. I know they had the gas shortage in the 70s. I don't know if it was at around that time, but you got to think that's back in the day because that was when our parents were in their 20s, in their 30s, you know, maybe 40s. So stuff was, yeah. We will never see those prices again.
No, you mad. And Dorothy was all,
Never
Dorothy was
ever.
a regular chick. Right. Dorothy was a regular chick. She was like, no quarter. You ain't getting in this. It was almost like D from What's Happening. You ain't getting, you ain't getting in this
That's who
house.
I
If
thought
you
about.
ain't got 25
That's who
cents.
I thought about.
And they had 25 cents.
That's who.
Imagine you want to go to a party so bad. Like you can find 25 cents hopefully in the couch, but you can't go until you find it. So then you had what's
Yep.
his name? Sweet talk her so that they could sneak into the house party. They had the lights off, Leroy, in high school with the house party.
Yep. My mama said, "Don't turn the lights out. Can't have the lights out."
And they turned the lights out. They wasn't listening to her at all. And they was
Not at
kissing.
all.
Look, they was in there necking like on Happy Days. They was necking.
Yep. Yep. It just, like I said, it was a you could just see it was a coming of age movie because you could relate to all of those things. You could relate to the house party. You could relate to the, like I said, the don't come up in here start no trouble. You know,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
you know you can't come up because you always start in trouble when you come up in when you come up in these parties. You know, I ain't starting no trouble. And what happened? Something popped off in there too. You know what I'm saying?
Woo! When Coach East was trying to get his little kiss on, Preach was trying to, when he was doing the
Yeah.
where she had that little white bra and pink. I said, that's so high school. You ain't trying to be fancy. She had her little
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
and then what happened, Leroy? They start fighting. And when they started fighting, what did they break? What did they knock down? Lord have mercy.
Yeah, and you know it. You bet. Yeah, because you always know something gonna break. Something was gonna break in the house, and and Mama was gonna come home pissed. So she's gonna come home mad because somebody done. I told y'all not to have no parties up in here, and now y'all done broke my good china, my good furniture, good stuff up in here. You know,
And
it's just like I said. Watching it just really made me reflect on back. It's like wow. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, that time, that I won't say innocence, just it was a different, it definitely was a different way of living back then.
yeah,
Um, that was a time when you didn't have to lock your doors. You
yeah.
know, it was it was no seatbelts in the car.
No,
This was your seatbelt.
no. I'm telling look, Leroy, I be telling kids that these days. I be telling kids in elementary school, I be like, we didn't have seatbelt. They was like, but what do you mean? Like they can't even fathom or
Yep.
comprehend. I
It
was
was
like, it was no seatbelts.
It was the one long seat in the front and in the back.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what I saw. Let me tell you what I saw. I was in the third or fourth grade, and me and my mom were behind a taxi cab. Remember them box taxi cabs they used to have, them box kind? Remember that? Can you hear me, Leroy?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Okay, remember those box taxi cabs? So we were behind the car.
Yeah.
I can see this plain as day. I was like 9 years old. No seatbelts. Then we
Yep.
hit the corner, and guess what? Blue Hill Avenue. Remember, we talked about the movie. Remember, I told you
Hmm.
I used to be on Blue Hill Avenue. Blue Hill Avenue. We hit that corner, and a pregnant lady flew out the taxi cab. I can see it in my head now,
Mm.
and I was 9 years old because there was no seatbelts.
There was no seatbelts.
And
Yep.
she might have
No
not
seat.
closed the door. She might have been leaning on the door.
Right.
He hit that corner on Blue Hill, and she flew out.
Oh my gosh. Oh
And
wow.
I can see that I can see the whole scene. And I was like 9 years old, like no seatbelts. Like it was like you
Yeah.
said, it was a different time back then.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, and it's just even the air you could, and it's sad because when I was looking at the footage, I said you could take that footage and that would be most of the inner city still
mm-hmm,
today.
mm-hmm,
Still today that
yeah,
look like that.
yeah, it's true.
Still today.
It's
I was
true.
just like I was like, man, has nothing really changed over 40 something years,
Right,
you know?
right.
I was like, man,
It's true.
but yeah, it definitely was it definitely was a different time. And it just made it, like I said, watching Cooley High, it was just it was a feel good movie. It had its funny parts, with when they go to the zoo, they skip school to go to the zoo. And here's the one, I don't know if you remember this. I ain't never did this, but riding on the back of the bus, catching
Oh yeah,
it's holding on to the back of the bus.
I'd have been
Yeah,
too
I
scared to
will.
do that. But they did
Yeah,
it in
I was never.
Claudine. Remember they did it in
Yeah,
Claudine
all
on the
right, bloody
ambulance.
too. Riding on the back of the bus. Yeah,
I never did that.
I wasn't that crazy.
No.
But yeah, but all right. But I want to know for you, because I was thinking about this. I was watching the movie and I was thinking about Preach. Did you ever? Were you one of those? Were you one of the kids that used to skip class, or were you one of the ones like me that the teacher had to tell you not to come to class at the end of the year.
Yeah, I was there. I didn't want to miss nothing. You already know me the same. I ain't want to miss nothing. I didn't want nobody. I didn't want to have FOMO, that fear of missing out.
No, I was not going to mess up my. I don't believe I missed. I had 100% attendance record in high school, except for snow days and stuff. I think I might have been sick maybe once or twice where I didn't go to school.
Yeah.
Out of my whole high school career.
I ain't like missing no time either.
Yeah, I was just, my teachers be like, at the end of the year when they ain't even want to be there.
Right.
You ain't gotta come. Like,
you be like, oh no, I'm gonna come. They be like, no, you don't have to come. No. I'm
gonna come. So, but it's those kind of things. I was thinking about those kind of things as I was watching it, and I hope we'll talk about this too, just about the friendships, the friendships in high school that you have, and the folks that you befriend, and even the argument. Yeah, even the argument that Cochise and Preach got into because he slept with his girl. That happens. All of this stuff was stuff that's real life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They were super
it happened.
tight.
Yeah, it happened in real life.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that's what made the genuineness of the movie. The arguing.
Yeah.
And then he was like, forget Cochise, and then and we'll talk about it at the end too, because the ending got me today, today.
I couldn't watch it. I can't watch.
Really?
I cannot watch the ending again. I might after this. Like it's so where, because then you mad at each other, and you know what I mean. Like you're mad at each other, and then something like that happens, but you still have love, but you're mad. Yeah. But that's still like your best friend, but you're mad. Yeah. And even young, not knowing how to say tomorrow ain't promised. Like ain't nobody, even though it's in the hood, like nobody's thinking that. You think that after you get finished being mad, then y'all go back, get some girls, or y'all go back and do what you do. And you don't think that it's going to be the finality of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. You just really don't, and that I just had a lot of things that I was thinking about as I was watching it today. I mean, even I was going to tell you this, that many young men, this is how we learned how to talk to women, young girls. It was between the movies like this and music was where we got how to talk to girls. That was what we.
Wow.
So you think about it. Think of some of the songs that were out back in the 80s, even the 70s, and think about some of the lines that the dudes have used on you. I promise you, they came from a movie.
Because I guess you do gotta really learn from somewhere.
They either came from a movie, or they came from music. They came from a song.
Right.
I like that. I was just like, yep.
If somebody come up to me and say, it don't take a whole day to recognize sunshine, I'd be like, wait a minute, that common? Ain't that common? Because that's one of my smoothest lines. If somebody tells me I'm the perfect verse over a tight beat, I don't even care. I'm still taking it. Even though I know it's brown sugar, I'm still going to be like, oh!
Well, at least he was paying attention.
Right. And then we can talk about how we like the movie. All right, so I'm gonna do some trivia. Then I'm gonna bring Basine on, and then we can talk about towards the ending too.
Oh, before you do the trivia, it's one dude, and I don't know if he was on the cast list because I didn't get a chance. I didn't write the cast list down, but he played the pimp. In here, but he's also another actor that is still acting. He plays on the Carl Weber show, the family business. He plays
I know who you're talking about. I can't think.
I think he's playing he's not. It's not Ernie Hudson. I think it's the other father.
Wait,
I think he plays
ain't Lawrence Hill and Jacob on there?
I don't know.
Lawrence Hill and Jacob. on there. Like he's on.
Is he on the? Is he on the Family Business?
Yeah, he's
Is he
on
on
the
the Family
Family
Business? Okay.
Business. He's like he
Yeah.
was in the beginning. I think he died though.
Okay.
He died. I
Okay.
think he
Okay.
was the father, like that first season, because that's when I watched it.
Hmm.
And I think
But I
he.
can't think. And I got his face, and he's played in a whole lot of movies and
Let me see.
TV shows and stuff too. But he played the pimp in Cooley High.
Let me see.
Um, and the way that they would talk, the way that they talked to women back then too was very demeaning as well too.
Very. It was that black exploitation kind of
Right.
talk.
Exactly. Right.
I
Right.
can't. I don't know his name. I gotta look.
Yeah. I can't think of his name either.
All right. So let me do some trivia, and then let me bring on Basing. We could talk
Okay.
about the ending and how can I
Yeah.
say goodbye
Yeah.
to yesterday and how that and he
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
main one saying he was the main one saying it's for the brothers who ain't here, whoever is either dead or in
Mm-hmm.
jail, like that. Him saying that and him being the brother who
Yep.
ain't here later. That's
James
deep.
dead. Yeah.
Woo!
Yep.
All
Yeah. I
right.
thought so too.
That's deep. All right, so let's talk about Garrett Morris, Leroy's boy. According to Garrett Morris, the producers did not want him to play the role as Mr. Mason because they felt that he looked too young. And he was 36. Like, I guess they
And he
thought
did look young. He
he
looked
did.
very young.
He did. But Morris was a real life school teacher at that time.
Oh, okay.
Director
Okay.
Michael
Okay.
Schultz insisted that Morris was right for the role. All right, so Preacher's mama, like many of the actors in the movies, like I said, were real life residents of Cabrini Green's housing project. Early appearance of Robert Townsend, he was in the scene where they were playing basketball. Robert Townsend was in the movie.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
The film's official premiere was June 27th. 1975 at Chicago Theater, but it opened in New York City and Detroit in June 25th, 1975. In Chicago, the film was screened, and then it went on everywhere else. All right, so included among American Films Institute's 2000 list of the 500 movies nominated on the top funniest American movies was Cooley High. Also, Patricia Whittington is the sister of Cynthia Brown, the one that played Preacher's Girl. She was in the R&B group Denise Davis and the Motor City Sensations. I don't know that group. But the film takes place, of course, even though it was filmed in 1975, it takes place in 1964.
Right.
The song "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday" makes its debut in the film by Motown's label recording artist G.C. Cameron. It had been famously covered, as we know, fellow Motown quartet Boyz II Men. The film's title serves as a namesake their 1991 debut, Cooley High Harmony. Remember, that was the name of that. The CD was Cooley High Harmony. So also, it said that Glenn Turman did the driving during the joyride sequence. He really did the driving. And one last one before I bring on Basie. 5 minutes into the movie, in the classroom scene, Preach puts a red paint on Pooper so he can get out of class. The Pooter clearly has the hair and the fade. And the next scene, when they are skipping class, Porter's hair is fully grown out. So I don't know what a Pooter is. It may be a ponytail or something. But of course, every movie has that inconsistent that timeline. It's not congruent to what's going on, that inconsistencies. All right, so Basine is coming on. She is going to do the wrap up with us. Y'all know Basine is our number one, I don't even want to say fan, our number one viewer. She watches all of the MT Jams, and if she didn't catch it live, she is watching the replay because I get the text about it. All right, Basine. Caller, are you there? Take it off of mute. Basine, are you there? We'll wait till she's there. She might be because she was watching the show. She just got on because she commented on something, so she must just be watching it. Basine, let us know when you're there. When I see your little face pop up. All right, Leroy, what was one of your favorite scenes of the movie?
Actually, you know what, and this may sound crazy, but I was watching it and I liked the two of them. One was the love scene between Preach and Brenda
Mm-hmm.
because it was done differently back then as opposed to how they do them now.
Think about Love and
Um,
Basketball's love scene with Monica and
right,
Q, and think about them two.
right. All of that, right? Exactly, exactly. And then I don't know what prompted him to say, "Hot dang, I don't won the bet." Like, dude, why would you even say that out loud? Why would you even mention that? That was I was just like, what are you doing?
They
You,
that
you keep
happens
that.
so
You keep
much.
that. Like you keep that to yourself. You don't say anything like that. But then too, the second scene that I think was impactful, other than the final scene, of course,
Mm-hmm.
um, was when Mr. Mason is in the bathroom with Preach, and he asks him, "What do you want to do, son?"
Mm,
He said, "What
mm,
do you want to do?" And 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 Preach says, "I want to live forever."
ooh,
And and Mr. Mason doesn't have an answer for him.
mm,
But when I heard him say that, and I was like, man, wouldn't it have been great for Mr. Mason to say you can live forever if you become the writer that you're supposed to become,
ooh, that's
because
deep.
your work
That's deep.
lives forever.
That's deep.
you know so
That's
and
deep.
it just made me think about, I was thinking about that, but I was also thinking about, think about those teachers that you had in your life that
Mm-hmm.
had an impact on you, and how
Mm-hmm.
those teachers have
Mm-hmm.
kind of we've kind of lost those
Mm-hmm.
teachers,
Mm-hmm.
in the school system these days.
I see.
A Mr. Mason. I had a Mr. Mason. It was a Miss Reagan
That's
that I loved to death. Call her my second mom,
that's
but
deep.
she was my Mr. Mason.
Yeah.
She was my algebra 1, algebra 2 teacher, and she would push me. She pushed me. She got me into the Upward Bound program, but it was that teacher that saw something in you that you don't see in yourself. And that was Mr. Mason. He saw something
Mm-hmm.
in Preach that Preach didn't see in himself. He was like, I
Yep.
don't like the school thing. I don't like this. All I want to
Yeah.
do is write.
Yep.
But Mr. Mason saw the potential in him. Even when he talked to the police and he
Yep.
got he got him off. He's like, they good kids.
Yep.
He's like, they
Yep.
good kids. Let them,
Yep.
and I don't want to I don't want to see their lives ruined
Yeah.
over a joyride.
Yep.
you know so
Yep.
you have to have somebody that sees that potential in you,
Yep.
and that's willing to speak, to kind of to be vouch for you. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
And that's what Mr. Mason did. He vouched
Yep.
for them at that
Yep.
important time. But he
Yep.
also spoke into to Preach at that time, because Preach had to think. He was like, what do you mean? What do I want to be? In life,
Yep.
you have to have someone that prompts, that provokes, that
Yep.
thinking, and that's what we're missing in this day and time. We don't
Yeah.
we as the now generation, we're not provoking
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
in the younger
Yeah.
generation to me.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
but
deep.
those were the scenes that I love, and we'll talk about the final scene, which was the most powerful scene in the movie. But I thought about the other ones as well too. Those were the
Yeah.
other two that I thought about as well.
That
You
was
know,
that. Those are powerful. I just saw her face. Basine, if you're there, come
yeah.
back. Okay, there she is. Those two were extremely powerful. When you and I
Hmm.
like what you said when you said that you could live on, you could live forever in your writing, and that's what we're doing even
Hmm.
with Eric Monty. Even though
Right,
Monty is
right,
not getting his credit, like we're talking about his movie now, so his work still will live on.
right. It
Yeah.
lives forever.
Yeah. And
It
Basine
will live
rocking my
forever.
shirt. Yes, you rocking my Celebrate Life shirt. She got all my t-shirts, Leroy. She be rocking them.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
oh, that's
yeah.
cool.
And she do. She buys them too. That's what I'm talking about. Like she supports. So I love you for that,
Right.
Big You know, because I give her some free one, but she buys most of them, almost all of them.
Absolutely.
All right, Basing. We talking about Cooley High. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday, and we want you to talk about your favorite part, and we want you to talk about that last scene.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. I hear lawnmower.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You said you hear a lawnmower.
Like something like
There's something in the background, but you good. We can hear you.
I done had the most difficulty with these Bluetooths. I turn it on and it showed that it's registered, but y'all wasn't hearing me. Switch to another one, put the Wi-Fi on. Technical difficulty.
That's all right. You here now?
Now back to Cooley High, one of my favorite cinema movies of all time, up there with the classics and must see. This is another cinema 12 o'clock Saturday movie that I was so gun ho to see back in the day. Now, if it came out in '75, I probably didn't see it till like '79 because I was only 5 years old and I wasn't paying attention to TV like that.
Right.
But when I did see it the first time, I realized because it was made for TV, they were not going to ever show the love scene with Preach in the bed with the light skin girl. So that part always, like every year, I looked at it, and they only showed him going to the room, him trying to get under the covers to get his clothes off, and then that was it. They never showed how she, they got they clothes back on. They never showed that because she was exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated that. Mm-hmm. So, of course, by the time I got my own apartment, that was one of the classic movies I had to have.
You wanted to see the whole movie.
I needed to see all that edited. And because I grew up with those cuts in the movies, I can't stand commercials. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like you cut into the commercial now because you don't want me to see something in that movie. that particular so-called love scene, I wanted to see because I was little.
Was they in a twin bed? Was that a twin bed too?
No, it was like a full-size bed. It was a full-size bed.
It was full-size?
Yeah, full-size, but his bed at home was a twin size. And they had the bunk beds at home. Yeah. Now, another favorite scene is when Preach tries to give his mother a heads up that he's in trouble. And she's so tired. Yeah. She knows what's going on, but she's too tired to even reprimand him, let alone whoop him.
Yep.
That she was like, go get the belt. As far as go get the belt. But she fell asleep. And because I grew up
by the time he came back.
My foster parents were elderly. So in my mind, I knew I wasn't going to do anything bad, but I didn't want that scene to ever happen where she tell me to get the belt and she fall asleep. Because I knew reality was, if she don't beat me tonight, she going to beat me tomorrow.
Right. Everybody, one time my mom told me to go get the belt, and I went to go get the little, the belt from the robe, the little flimsy one, and she just bust out laughing. I got out of one. She was like, get the belt, and I went and pulled the little thing off the robe, and she bust out laughing. I don't know what it was. That was the first and last time that she.
Yeah, we be trying to be split.
She was like, my child. But that's funny, though. That is funny. That's real funny. Say, hey, you ain't say which one.
It is a
you
belt.
Didn't say which
exactly. You said a belt.
You didn't say which one.
Now, another favorite scene is the bathroom scene when Preach is trying to hide. And the girl is on the toilet.
Oh.
And she's like, get out. And the lines that he say about you ain't all that anyway. That one made me laugh. Just keep laughing. Now to the party scene.
Oh, and go.
Ooh, baby, baby is another song that every
Yup.
time I hear it,
Smokey
my mind
Robinson.
go to Cooley High.
Yep.
It will never ever
Mhm.
cease that Ooh,
Yep.
baby, baby is going to go to Cooley
Yep.
High.
Yep.
And of
Yeah.
course, the scene when he passes away under the bridge, to
Whew.
this
Mhm.
day, when I see movies under a bridge, and mainly it's them New York movies that cars are going underneath the bridge, I do not like to see that, especially when somebody is getting killed under the bridge, because it takes me back to
Yeah.
Cooley
It
High.
happens a lot. It happens in New
Yeah.
York. I remember New York Undercover was famous for that.
Cover.
And different
Yep.
shows, they be under the bridge always.
And
Law
the
and
fact that that train muted him screaming out, like I never ever want to witness
Order. Oh, and Preach
that
did when he
kind
was
of, yeah,
screaming.
when Priest was yelling out asking for help. I
Mm-hmm.
never ever want to have that kind of life experience,
Ooh.
because I don't even think I could, like I don't think my psyche could handle that.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we're ending, going to ha, I'll be there. That's the very end song.
Mm-hmm. She said, I'm mad you did the whole little band. And then you said,
No.
ow.
And that song will always make me think of Cooley too. So it's almost like
Mhm.
up and down of sad and happy. When you think about the memory of that movie,
Yeah.
they had so
Yeah.
many, like that y'all was saying, childhood memories.
Mm-hmm.
It makes us, it was a turn of endearment. As we grew up, we could relate to a lot of the things that were happening. And to me, it would just always be up there as one of those top five classic black movies
Mm-hmm.
of all time. And it's not something that can be remade. No,
Right.
no. Don't even
Yeah.
try to remake
Yeah.
it. Don't even try to see where Preacher is now. Because he done went from being Tillman's uncle to what else did he do?
Oh, Colonel Taylor. He was Glenn
Yeah,
Turner.
Colonel Taylor.
He was
Yeah,
married to Aretha
exactly.
Franklin. He was
Yeah, I was
married
gonna say we
Hmm.
didn't he mention that he was married? Yeah, he was married to Aretha Franklin.
to. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I
And
think
the
the just
passing of
it's,
her father actually put a strain on their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because
did
she
it. Mm,
relocated back to Detroit when her dad got shot.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
And I'm trying to think of
yeah.
the other song. Was it "Wait a Minute, Mr. Postman"? Because that they remember they was dancing fast first,
Yeah,
and
that was inside the
But
diner. That was
inside
that was
but
scenes inside the
but
diner.
but think about that whole set. We didn't even go and get into the soundtrack. The
soundtrack.
soundtrack was done by Motown.
Yes,
So all
yes,
of those songs, um, Smokey Robinson, the Marvelettes were had a song, and then all of those
yeah,
songs were done by
Four
Motown. Were
top.
done by Motown
yeah,
artists.
yeah.
Were done
Baby
by
love,
Motown artists. Yep,
baby
Baby
love,
Love. The Supremes were, I think,
free.
were on the soundtrack. Of course, the Four Tops.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Stevie Wonder,
all of those artists. Yeah, yep.
Martha
Fingertips. I
and
think
the
Fingertips
Vandellas
Hey,
was
dancing in
on
the
there.
street,
loud, just a little bit louder. Clap your
Yeah.
hands.
and dancing in the street.
That was in the
And
beginning of the
Yep.
movie.
they used
Yeah.
to be like this. We was dancing in the street, and they done hit the double. You got hit the double. They
Yeah.
had
But yeah.
um Mary Wells and the
Yep.
Temptations. Ain't nobody coming to see you, Otis. I was watching that last night. Um, woo, coming to see you, Otis. Reach out. I'll be there, like you said, the Four Tops. But think about back then, and you go to the movies and you hear all those songs in the movie. Back then,
I know, right? You
it was
know.
probably loud. People was probably singing in that theater.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. It was just like I said. It was a different. It was just a different. I mean, and I mean, it was a different feeling that you get, and even rewatching it today, it just gave you a different. You had a different feeling
Mm-hmm.
when when you see a movie like that. Like we said, from the music to the language
Mm-hmm.
in the movie, to the language in the movie. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like I said, even the the hustling, them trying to act like police officers with the street ladies. They were like, "We gonna arrest you so that they can get the money to go to what was it? I think it was to the movies. They were trying to get the last bit of money
And
that
remember
they needed to go to.
when they was in the movie theater, they was watching, they was all jumping around, they was screaming in the movies. But then I was like, it didn't even look like it was a movie. It looked like people was behind the screen in the movie. Didn't it? I was like, what did they do? It looked like I was like, but I said, but that's that budget that we talked about earlier. They gotta improvise. They couldn't have no real movie on it, so it had to look like people was behind the movie.
And there really they probably weren't able to do a whole lot of editing either. So you're talking, real. I don't know if it was real to real, if it was still real to real back then, but
so.
it wasn't like they could, cut the reel and retape it together to edit it and all of that stuff too. So.
And then happening like in Cabrini Green, in the hood, in the projects, a lot of people probably felt prideful back then. Whether it was a project in Brooklyn or the Bronx, or whether it was Cabrini Green, or whether it was, what's the one in Baltimore they tore down the year I was here, the one right there.
Yeah, that was either Lexington Terrace or
Lexington Terrace or something like that. So think about,
Murphy Homes is probably the one you think about.
Exactly. I remember when they tore those down in Baltimore. So think about the pride that you have, where not only you see your people, but if you're in the hood, you like, okay, this is my story. Think about how prideful people were even seeing this, and even in the houses, because the houses wasn't no sets. Like in them apartments, it wasn't no set. Like that was somebody's house, whether they were in there like she's making peanut butter and jelly or whatever he was making, and you got the little sister over here, you got the other one over here, you sharing the rooms here, tight quarters here, and then some people that was there first, like we talked about with Boys in the Hood. Like when me and my mom went to the movies to see that, you saw a slice of LA and South Central, and now here you've seen a slice of Chicago. You saw the bridge, you saw the city. So a lot of people do things in their city, so you can kind of see the backdrop too of their city. So that's like another supporting cast is the city. I want to talk about, as we end, about friendship, and Leroy and I talked about it a little bit earlier when he slept with his girl and they were not friends, right? And then something happens to your friend and you don't get to say bye, sorry, because you think that it's going to be a tomorrow. You want to talk about that for a minute? Can you hear?
Me?
If you can hear. And I laughed so hard. It's so funny because I have the scene up, and I was telling Leroy about when she had that little white bra and panty set. And I said they wasn't showing nothing. That was like them old school. I said she had that white bra and panties on, remember? I said they was trying to keep it PG, and then she was under the thing. I said, but I laughed so hard in that scene when he thought that he was going to get some, he took them clothes off so fast with his little skinny body. His little skinny body,
and he doesn't look like he's gained any weight either. No! He looks like he about the same. He looked like he the same size as he was.
No! Right, and you know how the women be all like this, and then I laugh at Leroy. You like as a guy, like women be like this. Me and Basie know what that's like, but then the guy like.
but here's the funny part of that scene. That whole scene.
Hiding under the cover.
After they had, done the do or whatever, she's shy and like this under the covers and asks him to get her clothes. I'm like, he done seen everything.
But it's still like you still have to be a lady, like, because
it's the high mentality.
I'm sorry. No, ain't no.
But look, he's still standing up with his clothes off. He ain't shying off. With little body.
I'm sorry. It's not. I'm not, and I hope this isn't taken wrong. It's not being. After that, I didn't. With my boy Lorenz.
No, wait.
That's what Grace say again. Laverne say, "Well, I done seen everything. We done
I
done this
know. Oh
before."
my God.
Uh,
I thought about that when Lorenz say, he be like, I already seen it. We already. Lorenz was like, we already. And she like, no.
uh,
So it's so interesting. And like Basine was saying earlier, then we wrap up. Like it was rare that we saw a love scene like that with two
yes,
black people. I don't remember like because they were in that room for a long time when they drew them curtains and they were in that room. And you're right, it was that brown bed, that full bed, but they had a whole scene. It wasn't like flash to they in the bed.
right, right,
It was like
right.
they had a whole thing. I don't remember ever seeing stuff like that where they did
Well, you got to
all.
remember that was probably one of the first movies, especially when you talk about black movies, that did that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm,
That actually did that because you're
mm-hmm,
talking mid 70s, so that
mm-hmm,
wasn't done, you know, prior to that, you
mm-hmm.
know.
Now, did
So
y'all do the backdrop about the artists that some of those guys that were chosen were actually from Chicago
Yeah,
and
we talked
actually
about.
in mischievous stuff?
Yeah, most of
yeah,
them, that's what I was telling. Yeah, most of them were already because the budget was so low and they had the real life that was into that. That was the real ones, the ones that own the restaurants, like they were all themselves. And that's why, like I
Hmm.
was saying at the beginning, the acting wasn't that good because they had those were their big breaks, but it still worked for the movie. It still worked.
Well, see,
yeah,
we can say the acting wasn't that good as adults, but as a
hmm,
9-year-old little girl,
right,
I was
right,
tuned in.
I
They
ain't
had
seen
yeah,
my
it.
full
Hey,
attention,
see,
you're
you was
right.
and
watching all the stuff I couldn't watch at that age.
they did no wrong for me.
Right. Look, that's
I was
why
looking for all that adult stuff.
right. And that's why some of the stuff I ain't see till I was a little older. Till I was like, out the house, 19, 20 years old. They seen at 9 watching preaching in Brenda.
Look, between 9 and 13, I had seen Claudine, Cooley High, Sparkle.
Yeah, and the thing is, and I think you said this, Kendall, that back then you got to think the only really way you got to see those movies was in the movies, because once it was out of the movies,
Mm-hmm.
it VHSs didn't come along until what, mid 80s maybe.
Mid
That's what I'm
80s,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah,
83,
So when you mix
85.
it,
yeah, somewhere around there. So it wasn't like you could go back, and it wasn't certainly wasn't going to be on TV like like
Hmm.
now, where Cooley High, like we say, we can go on YouTube and watch
yep,
Cooley
yep,
Exactly.
High,
yep,
Exactly.
right now. So
yep.
you know, that we definitely didn't have that luxury back
Mm-mm.
then of being able to see a movie if it wasn't in the movie. Shoot, you ain't even really got to go. I know. For me, I was like, oh, I ain't gotta be pressed about going to the movie because I know it'll be on VHS
Right,
or DVD in like
right,
3 months after it's out. So,
right.
Yeah.
And right. And it's crazy. Like
so,
I hit Leroy up earlier. I was like, you can go on and watch Cooley High. They got the whole thing on
yeah,
YouTube. And it's free. So
yep,
y'all, if
and that's what
y'all
I
have
did.
not seen
And
Cooley,
it's
see,
less than it's a little and it's a
it's
little
like
less than 2 hours. It's a
yeah,
little less
hour
than 2 hours.
47
I think it's like
minutes.
under,
Hour and
yeah,
47.
47 minutes. Yeah, so it's not that long.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, you can. I mean, you could check it out on YouTube. And
Yep.
that's
So
what I guess
guys,
that's the great thing of technology.
mm-hmm,
Technology, allows us to be able to see some of these classic movies that
mm-hmm,
you ain't got to pay for them. You don't have to
mm-hmm.
go pay for them or anything like that because they've been out for years and years and years.
Yeah,
But they're
yeah,
great to watch. They're
yeah,
really great to watch, and it gives
yeah,
the younger generation something to be able
yeah,
to watch too,
yeah. I
and
agree.
see. So
Now another thing to me, those come of age movies, this
mhm,
day and time, kids don't know about giving half of the imagination. They just show everything now.
Mm-hmm,
It's like as
mm-hmm,
right,
long as if I show you a nipple or my butt cheeks, then I'm doing good. But back
mm-hmm.
then,
right,
that was taboo. Like
Yeah.
even
Yeah, you
kissing,
couldn't
I'm on
do
the
it.
kissing in the hallway scene. Like these girls were
Right.
fully dressed,
Yeah.
but they still in the hallway smooching down. But the
Yeah.
boys trying to take it to the next level. They trying to get under the skirt. They trying to get in the blouse.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
even the movie wouldn't let them go but so far
Yeah.
because of the
Right.
time that it came out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So all right,
All right,
so
we got.
let's talk. So we got it. Let's just okay. So all right, the end is here. Preachers with Brenda trying to take her home. They just had a whole romantic love affair on the train. That was, they just was living it up, right? They and not knowing what was happening on the flip side, the B side, under the
Mhm.
bridge. And because of something that happened, we already know the pettiness of stuff that happens, and don't mean to do this, and you're not expecting for somebody to take your life, but that's what happened. So why Preach is flying high, then he gets the word that his best friend has been killed and he's laying under the bridge. And y'all can go from, so he's running, so Preach is running down the street, and he's looking for him. He hears some stuff as he's going through, and they're directing him, and then they find that he finds, and that's where Basine was saying when he's screaming and all of that. So y'all take over from there. But
Yes,
he's
go ahead.
running down the street, he's trying to find his friend, like in a whole hat, coat, scarf, head, coat. He's like,
Now
book.
going back to Boys in the Hood, that's the scene I can relate to of my panic after I saw Boys in the Hood getting back home to Red Top. That's the same adrenaline that I had to see him, to try to warn him it's not worth going out in those streets. And I had a tunnel vision that if I could just get to him, explain to him what I just saw, and just say, look, it's not worth you going out there because, especially now, because it's starting to get warm and the cops are out there hot. This was like end of January going into February. And I'm like, it's not worth it. My heart was at a place of fear and protection all at once. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I every and then I'm like Kendall, I can't look at that movie to the full magnitude like I did when I first saw it. I probably saw it about 5 or 6 times back in the day. But
Mm-hmm.
now even having it on DVD, I
Mm-hmm.
can't pop it in and say I'm just about to watch a movie.
Yeah,
It's
because I
it's
got
too
on
much
DVD.
emotion and real feelings attached to those scenes that no matter how many times you see it,
Yeah,
you cry. You cry when he walks into the casket and don't want to be around everybody else. You cry when he's talking
Right.
to his man of the things that they could have done, and the laughter and fun that they had, and the fact that now I got to deal with my life without you,
mm,
and the fact that you even the guy that got the mess thrown on him, he saw Preach going. He kept his mouth shut even in the car because
Hmm.
he knew that bond that my boy need that time by himself. That I can't even tell nobody in the car right now. They're gonna
Yeah.
Preach. No, he muffled that,
Yeah.
even that
Yeah.
feeling that he had, that I can't even share that moment.
and the words
Yes.
to, how can I say goodbye to yesterday? The words, like
Mm.
the lyrics of that song. I don't care who you are, where you are, they will pull on your heartstring and they will make you think about the movie. Yes, but like Basine said, it'll make you think about the people that you've lost. And
Yep.
how do
Hmm.
I say goodbye to what we had? I want to read the lyrics, but it's so sad.
It is. It's literally like reading your own auto with your own what obituary.
It's how do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh outweigh the bad. I thought we get to see forever, but forever's gone away. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I don't know where this road is going to lead. All I know is where we've been and what we've been through. And if we get to see tomorrow, I hope it's worth all the wait. It's hard to say goodbye to yesterday. and I'll take with me the memories to
Memories to be my sunshine
it's so
out
hard
from the rain.
to yesterday, and I'll take with me my memories to my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. That's deep. And it's so simple, but it's like whoever wrote
Yeah.
that wrote it in 2 seconds. Like that's how how
Yeah, I'm
wrote.
I'm at the scene when Coach Cheese says when he pouring out the wine, he say to those who ain't here,
Oh,
I'm like the other dude. They ain't here. I don't care. I'm here.
I talked about that earlier. You got to go back and watch it. That's what I said. I did that whole little thing because it's funny. He's like, well, they ain't here. Like, where's mine? They ain't here. I'm here. So give me theirs.
Don't waste the juice.
No waste of juice. All right. So this was a good one. Leroy and Basine, y'all can close the show. I don't know who's going to go first. Leroy, you go first, or Basine, you go first, and then Leroy will close it up.
Go ahead, Leroy. I'm in it.
No, okay. I mean, like I said, Cooley High is just it's one of those movies. It's that you could watch over and over and over and over again. And all of the to me, all of those emotions that you feel from the first time you saw it, you still feel those same kind of emotions. We just talked about the ending. You think about the friendships that you had, the the house parties, the the all of those things. It reminds you of your childhood. To me, it reminded me of my childhood growing up. The friendships that you had in high school, and the dumb things that you would do, and stuff like that that came along. But it's truly, like we were saying, it is truly one of those black classic movies. It's definitely um, top five altogether, of all times. This is like, if not my number one movie of all times. It's right there, number one, number two. So definitely.
All right, Bay.
Yeah.
Well, as Leroy would say, like, share, subscribe. Do that LSS. Do what you know best. Because MG Jam is a jam to watch, and you will get some insightful information that you didn't even think about. This is a classic
Yeah.
movie that will go down in history. I think it's really a part of Black history.
Yeah.
As I look back, I don't see too many, Caucasian people in it, other than maybe the subway scene or when they're in the actual zoo. But it really centered around, the hood, the hood of living, the friendships that, you come about as, living in the hood and being a child, those friends that you share, heartfelt secrets with. And some of those friends, when they don't make it and they cross over, they take certain secrets to the grave. Even as adults, when we think back to people that we shared things with that are no longer here, I literally can't utter some of the things that I shared with my cousin Red Top, because that was between me and him. And things that he shared with me, I can't even speak of them because I'm gonna take it to my grave. Um, but the movie definitely is a heart wrenching life experience, and I would hope that people, when they do look at it, that they cherish the friendships that they currently do have, and remember, like the song says, it's hard to say goodbye to yesterday because you don't get yesterday back. Yesterday is gone,
Yep.
and you got to hold on to people that you love here and now. So, like, sharing, share, and save, and continue to watch MT Jams for your cinema and your movie trivia.
All right, y'all. That's it. That's all. Thank you so much for watching. Like they said, subscribe, like, and share. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to be doing. Maybe Claudine. I think we need to stay on this road. Sparkle, Cooley High, Claudine. What
Claudine.
you think?
I think we said we wanted to do Claudine. So yeah, let's
And
do
I
it.
got that. I seen that. I know that movie from front to back, back to front. That's one of my favorite. Now that's one of my favorite movies. So we definitely going to do that too. All of them are beautiful, classic Black films. That's what we doing. Bye, y'all. Thank you so much for watching.
Hey.